Hey there, everybody. Robert Taylor here with Wonderscape Studios on for another tutorial series. So we're going to be starting with the interaction system. And the reason for this is the vast majority of games these days have some form of interaction system. Um, the interaction system that we're going to be making will be working for first person, third person, and even top down slash 2.5 view for those that want it. Um, and this system will also have some pretty cool features. And I'll go ahead and show those off real quick before we get started. So obviously, when you get up close to someone, or something rather, an outline shows up and it says press E to touch the statue. The letter E, the word touch, and the word statue are all words that can be changed dynamically based off of if we change what the interact button is, or what we want to do to the item and what the item is. Now, if we zoom in, obviously it's hard to tell that the line trace keeps working, but if I zoom out, you'll see that it stays where it's supposed to. And if I step away, it's not too far away. And then it also works when I go into first person. Obviously, interacting with it will start things, and for those that want to, pick up an object and move it, holding down E will keep this box in the air. Letting it go will drop it. I'm not going to be going fully into mechanics like that into this series. All we are wanting to get done is the interaction system itself. The way that we are going to be doing it is through line traces, not through overlap events. Line traces are significantly cheaper, even when they are in the tick portion of the blueprint. So let's go ahead and get started. I already have a project opened up, and the first thing we want to do is we want to go into the project settings. For those that do not have it open, edit project settings. Mine's right here. The next thing you want to do is you're going to want to go into input. You're going to want to add an action mapping. I named mine interact, and I set mine up as E. So you have two ways of looking this up. You can either, hit the drop down, type E, push an E, and you have all of these options. The other one that I hardly ever being seen is this keyboard right here. Click on it, push a button, and it will automatically change it to what you want it to be. That's it. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go into collision, and here in trace channels, collision's down here, you are going to want to come over here to new trace channel, and you're going to want to name it, I named mine interact, and you're going to want to set it to block. Sorry, not block. You're going to want to set it to ignore. So it's not, and the reason you want to do setting it to ignore is so that when you're out in the world, when you're making your world, you don't have to go into everything and set it to ignore. This way, only the things that you interact with will you change from ignore to block. Now, once we have that done, we're going to open this up. You're going to, in your content folder, create a new folder called Interact System. You don't have to if you really don't want to. I just like being organized. The next thing we're going to make is the blueprint interface. An interface is a really cool tool that can be utilized to help create a efficient and cheap way to communicate between actors. It's also a very powerful tool to use when you have one actor doing a bunch of different things to a bunch of different actors, but it starts out the exact same way. In this case, an interact. So what we're going to want to do is come down here to Blueprints and click Blueprint Interface. My naming convention is BPI for Blueprint Interface, and then underscore interaction is what I'm going to name mine. Again, you can name yours whatever you want. The first thing we're going to want to do is this first function we're going to want to name look at. Now for me, I put an F in in front of everything that is a function. It helps me separate between the functions and the events, because sometimes I'll name a function and an event the exact same thing, but they do two separate things. So this is how I help keep things cleaned up. So again, look at. Now we're going to want to add an input. For now, it's not going to make much sense, but we're going to want to put is, looking at, and I put a question mark at the end of every bool I make. Some people put a lowercase b at the front. It really only matters up to you as the developer / designer of your game. You just need to make sure that everything stays fundamentally the same across the board. So with that, the next thing we're going to add is another function, and we're going to call it interact with. Oops. And with this, we're going to put in an input for the player character. Since I'm doing this in the third person template, and I haven't created my own character blueprint, BP third person character. Make sure it's an object reference. Name this whatever you'd like. It can be instigator, it can be operator. I just type in player character. And that is that. We have two more functions to go. Stop interacting, which is what made it when I stopped hitting the E, the block went back down. Nothing is added into there for now. And then another one, again, something we're not going to be using in this tutorial, but we will in future tutorials, is F. Well, you don't have to do the F. I call it pickup. And for now, until we know exactly what we need, if we need anything, we will leave this empty. Compile, save. Go ahead and close that. The next thing we're going to want to do in this folder is right-click, Blueprint Class, Actor Component. So what an actor component is, it's a way to store a bunch of code that you can then place on any number of actors you want. So a practical way of thinking about it is you yourself are really good at finding information, but you need to have those books with you. You place them in a backpack, which is the actor component, and you place that backpack on your back. And anytime you need to access that information, you just open up your backpack and take out the book you need. That's what an actor component is. So you can add it dynamically, you can add it before runtime, you can remove it after things are going on dynamically, whatever you want with it. It's just a clean way and a modular way of adding code so that you're able to place code where you want without having to re-copy making the code. So let's go ahead and create an actor component. My naming convention is AC for actor component, and then I'm going to name it interaction component. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to open this interaction component, and first thing we want to do is create a function. Again, I do an F because it's a function. You don't have to. And I am going to name said function line trace. I'm going to hit enter. Alrighty, here. Now here within the line trace, within this function, we are going to be setting up exactly what we want to have happen. So the line trace. So we're going to pull out this pen and type line trace by channel. The next thing we want to do is we want to right click and do get player camera manager. And the reason why we're starting from here is when we zoom in from using a third person camera and it moves to the first person camera, because they are two separate cameras, we want the camera manager to continue to be able to find the camera actor's location. So get actor location. From there, we're going to put this into the start. The next thing we're going to do, and by the way, we are currently just setting up one trace for now. We will, once we have the whole line trace done, copy it, make a new function for sphere trace, and it all being completed also means having the option of going from third or first person to top down / 2.5. So we want to make sure we have everything set up before we duplicate the code. Now we're going to pull out of the Get Player Camera Manager again. And we're going to type Get Actor Forward Vector. So this helps tell us which way is forward. Obviously, it's called forward vector. Out of this, we're going to type multiply or put in the multiply symbol, your choice. And then we're going to right click, convert pen to float. Pull out, no, you don't need to pull out. Right click, promote to variable. And we're going to name this variable interaction range. I'm going to hit compile real quick. And in an attempt to keep things fairly clean, I'm going to set up a category called interaction settings. And that's where it's going to be. Now, if we come over here to the third person character, and we look at the camera boom, we can see that the target arm length is 400. So if we set this to 400, as it's interacting, it's going to select, it's going to go as far as where it's looking, which currently how the third person character BP is set up will be in the very middle of the bottom back of the player. So we don't want it at 400 because we want it to go further than the player. So we will for now set this to 600. Now we're going to come over here and not do that. We'll now hit the plus sign. For cleanliness, I'll put this in the bottom one. We'll drag the actor location into there and then place that into here. Now for trace channel, we're going to want interact. That way it only looks for things that are interactable. Out of actors to ignore, we're going to pull out and we're going to do make array. Now, what you're going to want to do, you don't want to pull out and do get actor, and I'll show you why. Get actor, not get actor, get owner. Here it says target is owner. Complete. Not going to work because the target is owner right now is saying that the interaction component owns itself, and it doesn't. So you're going to want to right click and do get owner. Target is actor component. There we go. So now it's going to get the owner of the actor component, and now it works. So we're going to want to see it working. So we're going to click on here and do for duration, which I believe is set to 5 seconds, and it is. Compile and save. Come in here to the event graph. We're going to grab this line trace, place that into the event tick. Compile and save. Now when we hit play, wait a second. Nothing's happening. I did something wrong. Let's see. If I do the action input interact, and then oh, that's why I didn't add it here. We'll leave that here for now because we're going to need it in a little bit. We need to come here to the third person character blueprint, and you need to type in AC and then whatever you name the component. There we go. Compile and save. Hit play, and now it's working. As you can see, it's the middle bottom of the body. It's starting from the center of the camera. So I'm gonna hit F8 to eject out. It's hitting from the camera and going through to there. That's how it works. Which is pretty cool. So now that we have that set up, we're going to do one other thing. Because me, personally, I don't like the camera being directly behind the player. So we're gonna fix that. For that, you're gonna want to go to the camera boom of the third person camera of the third person. We're gonna come over here, and we are going to look for, once we have camera boom selected, make sure you have that selected. We're gonna come down here to socket offset. So for me, I like to set this to 50 and this to 50. Compile, save. Hit play. There we go. And this is why I have it set to the camera for the line trace. Because eventually we're going to have a dot in the middle of the screen so that the player knows where they're pointing to. And if you're getting all of your math from the player, then when you're pointing, it's going to be offset. And you're going to have to constantly be doing math to fix that. So that's why I set everything to the camera and having it set to where we can change the interaction based off of that. So now that we have that set up, the next thing we're going to do, because we want to make sure it works, right click, blueprint class. I'm going to create an actor, and I'm just going to name this BP for blueprint underscore test object. Next thing I'm going to do is open it up. I'm going to add a cube. Just going to leave it how it is. I made sure, you don't have to do that, but I made sure it was level with the ground. That way when it's placed, it's good. And with the cube selected, we're going to scroll down to collision. The collision presets, not default. I'm going to keep it at block all dynamic, and then change to custom. And interact, we're going to want to put to block. Compile and save. So now we have that. Let's place this here. We hit play. Compile and save. Okay, we're gonna have to assume it's doing its thing for a moment while we set up everything else. So back into the actor component and into line trace. Right now it's not registering anything, which is why that wasn't working. Silly me. So what we're going to want to do is pull out of here and get a branch. Condition being this. We're going to hit print string. Pull out of the, sorry, let me make this bigger because I know some people have a hard time seeing it with the channel being how it is. So out of the line trace by channel, you do a branch and then a print string, and on the out hit, pull out and do break hit result. I'm going to open this up, and the hit actor we're going to place right here. File save. Now we should, when we hit it, there we go, BP test object. And when we stop hitting it, it's going to stop printing. Now right now, with how it's set up, it's fairly expensive because it's going to do this every tick. But in order to get it to stop, we're going to set it up to where it then stores that value, and we're good. So let's close this. And then from hit actor, we are going to right click, promote to variable, and I'm going to name this look at actor. I'm going to place that right here. It sets that. Now then, the very next thing we are going to want to do is, no, I think that's where we're going to stop actually, because the video is getting pretty long. We're at 20 minutes. In the next episode, we are going to set up the widgets so that when we interact with it, a window will pop up. And once that window pops, not a window, but a notification will pop up saying push this button to interact type of thing. And once we get that all set up, if we have time, we will then set it up right in here so that it shows us. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any comments, concerns, or requests, please put those in the comments below or join my Discord and do those same things on my Discord channel. Please make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video.